In today's video, I'm going to be showing you how one of my students has been able to generate over $60,000 in sales within just 6 months of starting dropshipping as a complete beginner. George Gritsenko is from Greece. He's a student of mine and he started as a complete beginner only 6 months ago. Now he's already scaling his first profitable store, and today we're going to go in depth into his process so you can learn from it and apply it yourself. We're going to cover his product research strategy, his testing strategy, how he scaled the store, and also the issues that he found along the way. Make sure to stick around until the end of the video, because at the end we'll be doing an interview with George so he can share his experience with you guys. Before we start, let me just show you a quick overview of the dashboard. Here is the store. The store started selling on the 16th of May, and it has generated almost $68,000 in sales with a net profit of about $12,000. So a healthy profit margin of about 18%. So before we move on, let me just refresh the store so you can see that this is live right now. We have 2 visitors on the store today, 330 sessions, almost $500 in sales. The reason that I wanted to show you George's case study today is because he's achieved some very good results in a very short period of time. Usually, I would expect someone to start seeing success around 1 year after they start as a complete beginner. But George has done it in 6 months, and in just 6 months, starting from scratch, he's already made over $10,000 in net profit. So this is why I wanted to bring his case study on the channel today so you guys can learn from it and apply it in your own method. These topics that I'm showing you now are George's guidelines. He wrote these so he could give you guys the essential highlights of the strategy. I'm going to be going through these bullet points and I'm going to be giving you my insight on what I think is most important for you guys to learn. So how he found the product: he was scrolling through Facebook feed with the ad finder extension, so you only see ads, and he saw something that he thought was interesting. He went to AliExpress, he checked the cost of goods and the reviews to see if the product was worth a shot. This is something that I've mentioned a lot in my product research videos. The Facebook feed is a great product research tool and it is often overlooked. A lot of people forget to use this product research strategy, and I think if I had to choose one, this would be the strategy that I've seen people succeed with more often. So definitely don't overlook it. Spend some time every day on your Facebook feed looking for products. Click like and click shop now on every dropshipping ad that you see, so you train the algorithm to show you more, and soon enough you can turn Facebook into a very powerful product research strategy. Then of course, go to AliExpress, check if the product is not too expensive, if you can get a good profit margin on it. See if it has good reviews. I would recommend something above 4.6, 4.7 score on AliExpress. You don't want to sell low quality products. The next thing he pointed out is that on AliExpress, he found the product from the same niche, so a very similar product, but it was not the exact same. And that was the product that caught his attention even more. So the product that he saw on Facebook got him on AliExpress looking for similar products, and then a small variation of that product is what he actually ended up selling, because he found that that product was higher quality, it had better reviews, and it got him a better profit margin. So you don't have to sell the exact same thing that you see on Facebook or on your product research tool. You can sell something similar. Remember, the main goal of product research is to find what people are buying, what people are searching for, what people are interested in right now. And then he mentions that he used this product validation criteria. Now, I've mentioned these validation criteria before in my product research videos, but I'll mention them here again so you can write them down and use them for your product research strategy. For your product validation criteria, you really want to pay attention to these things. Number one, you want to make sure that your product has a healthy profit margin. So you got to look at the price on AliExpress and you got to analyze it and see if you're able to sell it with a decent profit margin. Number two, you want to make sure that the product has good content for you to make ads, unless you're prepared to order the product and shoot the content yourself. So look on AliExpress, look on Alibaba, look wherever the product may be, and make sure that it has good pictures and good videos available. Number three, and this is one of the most important, you need to make sure that the product fits the platform that you intend to advertise on. Sometimes you take a Facebook product because you intend to advertise it on TikTok, but not all Facebook products work well with the bulk of the TikTok demographic. So you need to make sure that the product that you select fits the platform that you want to advertise on, and that the content that you make also fits the platform that you want to advertise on. And then number four, I've already mentioned this, but make sure your product has good reviews. Make sure that you don't sell anything that is not very good quality, because it will just be a waste of time and money. So make sure that even before you select the product, you see that it has good reviews and the people that already bought the product are actually happy with what they got. Now we're going to go over the Facebook testing strategy and the Facebook scaling strategy. I'm going to go over George's bullet points first, and then I'm going to go into the ads manager and show you month by month how the campaign evolved, how we started with testing and how we transitioned to scaling and what we're doing right now. So we started by testing interest in an ABO campaign. Remember, this was about 6 months ago. So around 6 months ago, that is the strategy that I would still recommend. Right now, I would recommend a broad strategy instead. That is what is featured in my most recent Facebook ads course video. So if you haven't checked that yet, make sure to check that out. I will leave a link in the corner for that video. Then we had 3 creatives in each ad set. That remains the same. You should test 3 different creatives. Ideally, you want a picture, a video, and a carousel. And then we tested 5 different interests at the same time. So we were looking for the best audience that we could use to then transition into a scaling campaign. Any ad set that didn't get an add to cart within 24 hours, we replaced with another ad set. And we've used my strategy to turn off and scale ad sets. Again, that is the same strategy that is covered in depth in my Facebook ads free course. Then if an ad set from the testing phase made 7 profitable sales, he created a CBO with 4 duplicates of that ad set with a minimum budget of $50 a day. If the CBO was profitable and had a ROAS that was at least the double the break-even ROAS, he would duplicate it. Otherwise, he would increase the budget by 20 to 30%. And if after increasing the budget, it was unprofitable, you would scale it down until it reached the daily budget of $50. And if it was unprofitable there again, you would turn it off. Now let's hop onto the ads manager and let me show you what the strategy looked like month by month from testing all the way into the later stages of scaling. So here we are in the ads manager. We can see that there is a testing ABO campaign here, and there's a scaling campaign, the second one right here, which is a $60 a day CBO that ended up being turned off because it wasn't profitable in the long term. So let's start with the ABO strategy right here. And in the first month, George spent around $850 testing a bunch of different interests. And from here, you can see that everything that didn't get an add to cart was turned off right away. We've got some ad sets that made sales. Some of them did not make sales, so were turned off faster. So break-even ROAS was somewhere between 1.3 and 1.6. So we can see that some of these ad sets are profitable, and these were the ad sets that were then taken into the scaling phase. So let's go from May into June now, and let's see what happened next. We can see that we are testing more different interests. We have more ad sets being added inside of the testing campaign. And in here, you can see that we have 3 scaling campaigns that are now active. If we go to the second half of the month, we can see that the middle of funnel retargeting campaign is the one that's actually holding up the best. The other scaling campaigns are not doing very well, so they were replaced. What he was doing is he was going back to the testing campaign and adding more interest to test. Now let's have a look here at July. In July, we can see that our bottom of funnel retargeting campaign, which is this one right here, is doing a 3.33x ROAS. So retargeting is starting to pick up, it's starting to be profitable. Whereas most of the cold traffic profit is still coming from the testing campaign. If we look at the testing campaign, we have a few ad sets here that are above break-even ROAS. So at this point, he wasn't yet able to transition these testing ad sets into profitable scaling campaigns, but he was managing to find some profitable audiences within the testing campaign. Now in August here, we start to have some campaigns that are really starting to become profitable. Remember, these numbers are not 100% accurate on the ROAS. Some of these numbers are drastically lower than the real return on ad spend. So the ones that seem that are close to break even are actually profitable, and the ones that are not profitable are just those that have a really low ROAS. And in August here, we can see that we have our first very successful scaling campaign that has done 92 sales at a profitable return on ad spend. So let's move on and let's look at September. And in September, we have again retargeting doing really well. So keeping in mind that these numbers don't actually reflect the real ROAS, they're lower because Facebook fails to track all the purchases correctly. That means that retargeting is doing a really, really good return on ad spend. Also, we have, as you can see here from the ROAS, a good amount of campaigns that are now turning a consistent profit. Even without all of the data being tracked, they're still above break-even ROAS. So he's now making some very good profit and he's well into the scaling phase. Let's have a look at October up until now. So let's do 1 month and a half. And you can see the campaigns that are turned on right now even without accurate ROAS here on Facebook Ads Manager. You can see there's a lot of them that are profitable. All of them have a solid amount of sales. And he's now entered a point where more things are working because Facebook has more data to play with. Remember, in the beginning, he was testing different scaling campaigns. Not all of them worked. Even the retargeting campaigns weren't consistently profitable. He kept taking profit from the good ad sets inside of the ABO campaign. And that's something that I wanted to show you guys actually. Let's go inside of the ABO campaign. You can see if we go on the maximum window, and we sort this by amount spent, you can see that some of these ABO ad sets spent a lot of money. So in the initial stages of the scaling campaign, because not all of the CBOs were working, he was getting profit from the ad sets inside of the ABO testing campaign. And doing that, he kept on testing new interests, testing CBOs, and finally some of the CBO campaigns had good enough audiences that they took off and they started to be more consistently profitable. Now let's go over some of the main issues that George faced during the process and some of the lessons that he can share with you guys so you guys can improve your methods and learn from his experience. George said that PayPal banned his account after just 2 weeks and they couldn't even explain why. You can still make sales without it. The supplier sent the wrong product for a big batch of orders and only took responsibility after a lot of pressure. Find a good, reliable supplier. I've said this many times, make sure that when you scale, you don't do it with AliExpress or with some unreliable supplier. At scale, you need to make sure that the person that you're working with is reliable enough and will take responsibility for any mistakes. Because if not, you can get yourself in trouble with your customers and it can lead to a lot of chargebacks and disputes, which in turn can even shut down your business completely if you can't solve the problem or if you can't make it up to the customers. A lot of small issues happen like creative and Facebook page bans, but that is to be expected. We've talked about this on the channel before. You need to make sure that you're on top of Facebook ad policy. Make sure you verify your business manager, make sure you verify your identity, and you should be able to keep going. Doing business is solving problems every day while at the same time trying to take your store to the next level. Doing a business means that you will always have to be solving problems. Some people don't realize it, but it is part of the journey and it's something that should be expected. You shouldn't let that get to you mentally because that really is part of the process. Now for the mistakes and things that George says he would do differently if he was starting again now. More split testing of the product page to increase conversion rate. More creative testing. Every 1 to 1.5 weeks, test new creatives. Install one-click upsells from the start. So start doing one-click upsells as soon as possible to increase your average order value. Install an email or SMS pop-up so you can get emails and do email and SMS marketing. Send out more email campaigns. Don't sleep on email marketing. It might seem crazy, but from my experience, email marketing can easily get you 15 to 20% extra revenue just from email. Run ads from a second channel like Google Ads earlier. Don't depend on just one platform. As soon as you start scaling, you want to reinvest your profit and have another sales channel. So if you're on Facebook, get on TikTok, test Google, test Pinterest. Make sure that you diversify your traffic sources, because if later down the line you get in trouble with one of those platforms, you will still be able to run with traffic from the other platforms. Test more products from the same niche. Of course, you don't just want to stick to your winning product. Once you have something that works, you want to expand and build a store around your winning product and around your winning audience. And now that we've covered the entire strategy, let's hear from George himself how he was able to generate over $10,000 in net profit within just 6 months of starting as a complete beginner. So George, thank you for coming on and doing this interview and telling people how it was for you in your early days. Thing that I'd like to ask you first is if you could please give us a quick overview of how it was for you in your early days before e-commerce, and how was it that you found out about e-commerce and how you decided to pursue that?
Yeah, first of all, thank you for having me. So before e-commerce, I just finished the army, which is mandatory in Greece, and I was still studying for in university. I was finishing, and I was thinking to go to Europe for work or to do a master's degree, because in Greece the situation is not the best of the crisis, etc. So then 2020 hit and we were all at home with the pandemic, and I was just on the internet and I stumbled across e-commerce, dropshipping, which was not the first time. The first time was in 2018 or 19, but back then the quality of the videos on YouTube was very low and it looked a little bit scammy, like a get rich quick scheme. So I didn't pay attention then. But in 2020, the information was a lot better. So I thought about it a little bit and started researching and decided to give it a go.
What was your main motivation to get into e-commerce? Why did you decide to do this instead of just following along the path that you had pre-planned before?
I always wanted to be my own boss and
Mm.
start a business. But I didn't know when will that happen, as you need knowledge, experience, a lot of money. But e-commerce lets you do it for a very low price, like a couple $1,000s. It's not a lot for a business. So, and since we were at home, I
Hmm.
decided to give it a go.
What was your main struggle? What was your main obstacle when you were getting started?
There is a lot of information on the internet about e-commerce, and it can be a little bit overwhelming because you don't know what to do. You are always second guessing yourself because person A says to do this, but person B says to do something else, and you're always in between, having to decide what to do. So that was my main struggle, and that's why I didn't start a store before I contacted the e-commerce mentoring team.
Okay. What made you cut through the noise? If there's a lot of conflicting information, what made you choose e-commerce mentoring over anyone else?
I think the information was good, but besides that, it showed that it was a real business that you won't get rich after a week, a month, or even 6 months. It has a lot of work to be done, and it's not as easy as other people make it. Other people make it seem.
Hmm.
And I really liked your personality and how you talk about e-commerce. How passionate you are and knowledgeable. So I decided to give it a go because I didn't have much to lose there.
Hmm. Okay. Well, thank you. What was it that, or let me ask this a different way. If you struggled when you were getting started, what was it that made you kept going? Did you ever feel like giving up, or was that never an option?
Um, I had some money aside and I had decided that I will spend it all. And until I wouldn't stop. So I had like six or
Mm,
$8,000, and I said I will spend it all. And even after I fail and I spend it all, only then I will think about giving up.
yeah,
But I don't think I would because what other option I have? Like in Greece, the average salary is like 800 to 1,000 euros per month. So there were not a lot of options.
that's very good advice, actually. The fact that you set yourself a very specific goal that you would have to reach before you even think about giving up. So I have this budget, and no matter what happens, I'm going to go through it, spend it the best I can, and I'm not going to give it up until the whole money has been spent. So you know that you're going to struggle, but with those difficulties, you still set your sights on someone further down the road, and you say, until I get to that point, I'm not going to consider giving up. So that's very good advice. I think a lot of people falter with their first few hurdles that they face, and they don't realize that they're just getting started. So yeah, that's very good advice. How many products did you test before you found the winning product?
It was four
Okay.
products failed, and the fifth is doing great.
Okay. And how many hours did you work on your business while you were getting started, when you were just testing products? How many hours a day, that is?
Yeah, that's difficult to answer because I was busy, but not very productive. So I could sit in front of my computer all day, but the actual hours I worked, like focused, was a lot less. It is a struggle because you don't have a boss or a manager tell you that you have to get it done by tomorrow. So that's a thing I still struggle, but I would say 6, 8 hours maybe.
That's a good point, because a lot of people say, "Oh, I work so many hours," but then they actually don't do that much, right? They work a lot of hours, but it's not very productive. So that's also something that's very important to keep in
I
mind.
could say that I work all day,
You know,
but I didn't work all day.
yeah,
I was looking busy, but I wasn't productive.
yeah, yeah. That's a good point. People should self-evaluate on what they're doing, not just how much time they're putting in. That's also very good advice. So since we're on this note of product research, what advice would you give to people starting out in terms of product research? What's been your strategy to find products, since testing 4 products before finding a winning product is a very good record. I would say the average goes somewhere between 8 and 10 products to find the winning product. So you're below that by a lot. So yeah, do you have any advice for people starting out finding products? What would you say?
Yeah, I don't think that like everyone asks what's the best spy tool, what's the best method, but I don't think it really matters. Like I found my product by just scrolling through the Facebook feed. I had
Yeah.
an extension turned on to see only ads, and I was just scrolling. Like if the product is good, it doesn't matter where you find it, and it just has to check off the validation criteria you have for your product, like be a problem solver, good quality, etc. And
Mm.
it doesn't really matter where you find it.
Yeah, that's, I think, from my experience, products that show up on the feed have a higher success chance than any tool. Just, I don't have the data to back it up, but I think it is. Like usually it's the products that just pop on the feed and people overlook that method so many times. They just think, oh, it's too basic. Of course, it's the feed. Nothing's gonna work there. But they forget that your feed is what the algorithm shows you. It's not what it shows everyone. And if you season it the right way, you can turn it into a really good product research tool. So yeah, what about creatives? How do you create your content? Do you outsource? What tips do you have for people in terms of creatives? Because creatives, I would say, are the next biggest thing to succeed. Your product can be good, but if your creatives aren't, you're not going to go anywhere. So I wanted to ask you for some advice in terms of creatives.
Yeah, I once tried to outsource it on Fiverr to
Hmm.
a person that was had thousands of 5-star reviews, and I ordered 2 videos, and they were like straight from 2018. They were trash, like unusable.
Yeah.
So since then, I haven't tried it that again, but I'm pretty sure that you can find good people on Fiverr or Upwork, etc. Now I do it myself. Um, I just check what other brands are doing, like in my niche, and not only in my niche, because UGC content does so good, like in 2022. You don't need expensive gear, expensive setup. Like it can be something very simple. Like the creative doesn't have to be super professional, I think.
Yeah, but it's very good that you mentioned the fact that you look at what other brands are doing and you try to model after it, because sometimes you don't have to reinvent the wheel, you just have to copy what works. And sometimes people think about UGC and they think about this, hey guys, I found this product, whatever kind of very basic thing. And sometimes that's not it. Sometimes it's a bit different. You just have to copy what works. You don't have to reinvent it. So how often do you test new creatives? How many creatives and how often?
Yeah, like it is recommended even by you. You have told me again and again
Yeah.
to test 3 creatives every week.
Yeah.
To be honest, I haven't done that much creative testing like I should, as much as I should. I would say more like 3 new creatives every 2 weeks. In the summer, maybe even less than that. But
Okay.
it is recommended to test a lot more, which
Okay.
I have started to do.
All right. So, what did you think was the most valuable takeaway or takeaways? Like, what were the most valuable things that you took from your time during the mentorship? Like, if you had to pick 1 or 2 things that clicked for you and made a difference, what would you say those things were?
I would say the overall strategy, like from start until the end, because I knew that if I do this again and again until, let's say, my money runs out, I would make money and I would make that thing work. And then it was just doing it day after day. Like I didn't have second thoughts in my mind, etc. And the other thing was the ease of mind I got because I knew that if I need something, like if I'm stuck, I knew that I could send you a message or book a call, etc. Because you have gone through what I'm going through now, And because we did the mentorship together, you know what I know and you know the stage that I'm at. So this was a big relief because otherwise you have to look on the internet for answers, and it's not always that easy. Like
Mm-hmm.
the answers are there, but you will have to spend a lot of time,
Mm-hmm.
and you don't know the source of the information because it could be bad.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, one thing that you've mentioned there, I think a lot of people don't do, and I just want to underline it to make it very clear, which is you didn't second guess the knowledge that you were given. You just went for it and you applied it. A lot of people second guess the methods, or they get information from many different sources and then they try to like piece different parts of it together, and they don't just stick to one method. They try like five different methods. And I think a lot of people fail or take longer to succeed because they don't just stick to one thing. They start running Facebook ads, but then they see someone on YouTube talk about TikTok organic and they go and do that. So they never really get good at one thing. They mix a lot of things together. And the fact that you just stick to one strategy and you learn it and you master that is so important. A lot of people kind of don't realize that and do a lot of things at the same time. So you never really get good at anything.
Yeah,
So yeah,
I did the same mistake because there are a lot of people on the internet talking about e-commerce.
yeah,
So I think people have to choose one or maybe two people and follow them because otherwise you don't know what to do because everyone had a different path to
yeah.
success. So it's not like even Facebook ads, it's not a science. Like people go off their own, they are talking about the stuff that worked for them, and you don't know if it will work for you. So just choose one or two people and follow their advice and do
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, and don't switch between different strategies or else you'll never really do anything, right? Because there's always going to be the shiny object syndrome, right? The new cool strategy. But if you always go after the new cool strategy, you don't really do anything. You're always changing and you never get good at anything. So that is very important as well. How long did it take you to be successful from when you started?
If we are talking about profit,
Fine. Yeah.
then I would say since we started the mentorship, I would say 6 months, but it could be faster. Like if I were more aggressive with the product testing, etc., it would be faster.
Well, 6 months is
It
still
could
a
be.
very good period of
It's
time.
still very fast,
Yeah.
to be
Yeah.
honest.
But then again, you say that you only tested four products in those
Yeah,
6 months, right? So you took
that's
your
right.
time. Yeah, yeah, I understand what you mean. Yeah. Okay. The last question that I wanted to ask you, why do you think a lot of people starting e-commerce fail? And what advice do you give to people that are just starting out their e-commerce journey like you were when you started? So two questions in one, kind of. Why do you think most people fail? And number two, what advice would you give them?
I think people fail because they treat all this e-commerce dropshipping thing as a gig because they think that because it has the word dropshipping in it, that it's not the same as e-commerce. Because e-commerce, even Nike or Apple, they're doing e-commerce, but because we put the word dropshipping with it, they think that it's something else, that it's something easy, like a cool thing on the internet that they can do in 1 week and get a lot of money. And it's not at all like that. It's a real business. Like you have to open an LLC, an actual LLC to work. They have to take it more seriously.
Hmm. Yeah, a lot of people don't, right? They think it's just something that they're like a little game that they're gonna play that might give them some money, but they don't realize that
Yeah.
it's yeah.
And you want to make millions, like you don't have the knowledge or the experience to make millions. Like how are you expecting to make millions like in 1 year? Like you have to learn a ton of stuff, like ads, sales copy, how to make a website, creatives. There's a ton of stuff to work on and learn.
And what you learn is not the same at every stage, right? Where you start learning when you're starting testing products is different from what you're learning now by scaling a product.
Of
Different
course.
stages mean you learn different things. So it's not just you get good at stage one and suddenly you're making millions. You have to get good at all the stages until you get to the point where you can make a lot of money. So you gradually go, you don't suddenly make $1 million overnight. You go from making nothing to breaking even and then making some profit and then making 1,000 and then making 10,000, and all of those steps have a different learning experience to them. And of course that takes time. So the idea of people thinking I'm going to get really rich very fast is not possible, because they can't skip the curve, right? And if they do, then that means they're probably doing something dangerous that is probably going to bite them back very soon. So yeah,
Yeah, 100%.
if you have to give them one thing that people could change, one little piece of advice from your own experience, of course, that you would tell people, fix this or do this and your chances will increase, what would that be? Like one thing?
Okay, I think I will say more than one thing.
Okay.
First of all, I think they should set aside an amount of money, like more than $200. That's not a lot of money to start an actual business. Like
Yeah.
you can't even you can't start nothing with that kind of money. Like set aside a couple of $1,000, and until you spend it all, only then you will think about quitting or not. And then I think the most important thing is that you have to learn how to find solutions to your problems. Like you don't have anyone over your shoulder that you can tell him any minute, how do I fix this? And I see a lot of comments on YouTube videos, like comments like, you can't search these questions in 5 minutes on Google. Like you
Yeah.
can't, people won't answer your questions, like so easy questions. Like they have their own life, their own business. Like you have to learn how to find solutions. That's the most important thing I know, I think.
That tells you that they're in the wrong mindset, right? If
Yeah,
they're asking stuff that they can look for on Google instead of doing the work, it kind of tells you that that person might not be willing to put in the effort that it takes to build a business, right? It's not something that you can just get a recipe and apply it. You actually have to put in the work. There's no shortcut other than learning and putting in the effort. And I feel like there's something that a lot of people kind of hide, maybe because it gets more views or more clicks on YouTube to make it seem easy, but it's not. And if you want to succeed, you have to come in with realistic expectations, or else you're going to give up 5 minutes in if you don't have realistic expectations,
yeah. It's
right?
not a regular job. Like you have to have a totally different mindset. Like no one gonna save you. Like you
Yeah.
gotta find a solution. Like I don't care where, on Discord, on a forum, in an article, whatever. But you have to find it.
Yeah, no one's going to save you, but also no one's going to put a cap on how much you can make. It's all
Of
it's all
course,
down to you, right?
yeah, you can become a millionaire.
Yeah. Yeah, it's all based on your own effort. All right, George, thank you for taking the time to do the interview, for the questions. It's great having you. And yeah, best of luck for your business. It was great having you as a student as well. And yeah, we'll see you very soon. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and I hope I gave value to the people that decided to watch this video.
All right, guys, that's it for today. If you want to learn more about my Facebook ad strategy, make sure to check out this video right here. As always, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.